Welcome to Well Rounded Momma's YouTube channel. Thanks for joining us. Like, subscribe, ring the bell. You're visiting us on week 2 of our Get to Know Your Midwife, Get to Know Your Birth Worker, and what their lifestyle looks like. And so my name's Sherry. I'm joined by Tiffany and Sarah and Tori and Cora. Hopefully you met them last week. If you didn't, go back and watch that video. It'll give a great little intro to how we got into birth work and where we started. I thought the next best question that kind of went along with that was, what surprised you the most about this midwifery gig? She's like, where do I start?
Let me get my notes out.
Because in our last video, we talk about like, oh my gosh, we just got into it because we loved it and we wanted to be with women or birthing individuals and families and babies. And then you kind of choose this for a career. And as a career, there are some things that come with it that I think it's safe to say some things happened that all of us on the couch kind of at different points of our life went, that's a part of being a midwife? Like, what was the most surprising?
For me, that's a hard one. I can't say like the on-call stuff because that's not a surprise. But it's
still shocking. Still not exactly as hard as you thought it was, though.
But it's hard. But I think that's the hardest thing to me is the on-call.
The on-call.
Because I had somebody ask me the other day, like, how many hours do you work? And I'm like,
depends on the week.
Seriously.
How many hours don't I work would probably be a better question as a midwife. You're always working. You're always working. Somebody's texting you or calling you, which I'm not saying that to deter people from doing that. It's just part of the life.
Some of us have college degrees and other things, but for the most part, we all chose the PEP process, which is through the North American Registry of Midwives. So we all done a 2-year apprenticeship at a minimum, some of us more than others. But in doing that, when you're under your preceptor, you don't really see all the things that she's doing.
No.
And so that is shocking because you maybe didn't know how many times she got called or
Right, yeah.
filling out FMLA paperwork you never had to do. You know, there were some aspects to running a midwifery practice. I think that when you were in an apprenticeship, your preceptor didn't necessarily kind of show you because it was stuff that she was doing. For me, it was the paperwork, honestly.
That's what I was going to say.
I hate it. I hate it.
Yeah.
I hate it. Can you do like hate?
Did you get that,
and
guys?
Like, on fire around. Like, I will have like these long conversations with people. I'll be like, shit, I should have charted some of that. Oh, because when I go to birth, I just want to be at the birth. I don't want to have to be thinking about
present.
charting. Yes.
But you do have to do it. That's the hard part.
Yeah. I mean, you have to do it. It's a liability. It's in the best interest of midwife, client, baby that you are actually keeping an accurate chart. I just thought I'd show up at birth and be there, like, I don't know, singing
Doing
and
the
playing
dishes
drums. No, I never thought that. Like I said in the previous video, we all here wear 2 hats, where we're midwives and we own a maternity center. And so much work goes into the maternity center as well. So we were like, oh, we have to deal with this and this and this. I mean, some stuff gets sent out. For the most part, we're doing a lot of this stuff here. This is it.
This is it.
This is it. In fact, I was super cranky before we started filming videos because I was doing collections and that wasn't my favorite. It's not my favorite gig.
What? You don't like doing that?
Mm-mm.
Shocking.
What other things were surprising about this midwifery lifestyle?
The amount of weird pictures I have on my phone. I really am surprised. Like, sometimes I don't even get a warning text like, hey, can I send you this? I just open it and it's there. And I'm like, oh.
What do I do with that?
What do I do with this information? I don't even know. A lot of weird
Were
pictures.
you guys surprised about how it affects your relationships?
My poor husband.
Oh,
don't
I
wanna
think
say that.
everybody in my family actually doesn't really like me because I'm always like, okay, I gotta go, bye.
I know there's lots of times where I'm like, okay, I'm leaving now. And he's like, what? And I'm like, I know we just planned to go do this thing, but
That's
we're not
not
doing that
happening
anymore.
Yeah.
You're watching the kids.
Switching it up.
I gotta go. Same with like friends. Your response always to any event is, I'll be there if I'm not at a birth.
I'm not at a birth.
And I think I lost a lot of friends. Like
These are my friends.
These are our
For
friends
the
now.
record, these are our
Because
friends.
there's not very many people who understand our lifestyle. I'll
No,
even
for
have
sure.
clients who maybe I bond with or connect with and they want to be my friend, and then I will disappoint them in every way possible. And some of us are families. Like if we have extra time, generally it's going to be spent with our families. We justify going out together ourselves because I don't think there's ever a time we like go out to lunch and we don't talk about work. You know
That's
what
true.
I mean?
It's like a semi-birth.
It's
or
like
work meeting.
we're besties, but we're gonna also talk about payroll for a little
Right.
bit. Like it's
There
just,
might be a glass of wine involved, but it's also about payroll.
It's also going to be about something else. I think how it affected my relationship. I think I knew about it, and I definitely think my husband is super supportive for sure. It works for us because he's a workaholic, so he likes to work all the time. So if we're ships passing, he's totally cool with that. But it took time too. Like I would start going to births and my kids would call me and be like, Mom, there's no food. Or my husband would call me and be like, what do you want me to do? I'm at a birth. And after a while, those calls left. Like I think I can be gone for 2 days and no one even check in on me.
So, like, if you ever get kidnapped and murdered, that's not great timing because the first 48 are crucial.
I think health, can we talk about that for a minute?
No.
For sure.
Did you think that it would affect your health the way that it would?
No.
Yeah, kind of. Pre-existing
It takes-
conditions, though.
There you go. It takes a toll.
I think,
I don't
if I'm
recover
honest, I
as
was
fast.
super judgy of grandmother midwives before. Like when I first got into this, I remember there was a midwife who had like a back problem, so she'd go sleep in the other room while her student maybe did stuff, and I was so judgy of her. And now I'm like, so sorry for my judgment.
Dude, I feel like I have aged a lot in the last 5 years. Like, for real. Like, the amount of sleep.
The weight that I have on me
Oh.
did not exist until I got into this work. Because
Well, we have to,
it
like, eat
changed.
out in the middle of the night, and the only thing that's open is a Wendy's at 2 in the morning.
And like any of us are disciplined. Sarah's a little bit disciplined with making her own food. Sometimes Sarah will bring her own food to the office and we're all like, whoa.
We're judgy. We're like, we judge you for not ordering fast food with us.
I didn't think it would affect my health away, but like your sleep rhythms and
Oh my gosh, I listen to those things on like YouTube or whatever. That's like the science of sleep and what happens when you don't. And I just laugh because I think we deal with that like almost on a weekly basis sometimes.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I'm now so trained in my body that at every morning around 3 to 3:30, I wake up to check my phone because I'm terrified that I've missed a phone call. So I wake up for like 5 minutes, I check my phone, make sure it was plugged in properly, make sure it
Yeah.
didn't accidentally turn off every night. That can't be good for me.
during this pandemic, we've all been like super like stressed out about getting sick at all because we were like,
Yeah.
like we can't even get a
Yeah,
cold.
you can't get a
Should,
cold.
like,
Yes, we are so susceptible to being sick because our immune system has been so taxed, right?
Yeah.
What was your most shocking thing? I don't know how much I'm on my phone. I guess.
Oh yeah, when you look at your screen time of your phone, you're like, "Hey, I wasn't even doing anything fun."
No, I'm texting so many different clients, or I'm texting
Yeah.
midwives about clients, charting.
Looking
I
at
chart on my
things.
phone.
And that's hard because people will say, like, Mom, you're on your phone. I'm like, I don't want to be on my phone.
I know, like that's
but
my
I am.
choice. Yeah,
like,
for sure.
I don't have a choice. I have
Everybody
to
said-
respond.
I will say,
Sometimes I hand
this
them the
new
phone.
factor I'm going to show everybody. The little charging port at the bottom of your phone, I hold my phone with my pinky. So now I have like a callus on my pinky from holding my phone up against my charging port. That's a thing.
Yikes.
I
don't.
That's how
I
much
don't
I'm
have
on my
that problem.
phone.
So yeah, those I think were things that we were surprised about, and there's probably other things, but I think for the most part, I think you know what you're getting into, and I still say to my students all the time, "Are you sure?
You want to do this
Are you
crazy life?
sure?"
Like, I really don't think.
But we love it though.
But I don't think
Oh,
anybody
so
can
much,
really
yeah.
know. Like,
You
even
couldn't
if
do
we
anything
warn
else.
them and
No.
tell them, "Are you sure? Are you sure?" Like,
But you're
I have
you're
thought,
called to do
yes,
it.
and
You're
I've
called
thought
to
that
do it.
so many times
Yeah.
this past year.
You're
My
called.
husband's like, "I want to make enough money so you can quit your job," because he sees, I think, how taxes. I'm like, what else would I love? Like, what else would
Yeah.
I
You
get
could.
out of bed and do? What else would I?
What
get
else would
called
I
in
get
the
out of
middle
bed at
night
3 in the morning
for?
for?
Like, there's, like, I
You
cannot
wouldn't.
think of anything.
my own children and somebody else's children.
We all feel so invested in the community and the families that we serve that it's just become so worth it.
And we love them.
Sometimes more than we love ourselves.
Yes. Probably more times.
What is it where you're like,
Clearly.
I love you?
So that's what surprised us the most. When you worked with a midwife or a healthcare worker, what surprised you the most about working with them? Were you surprised when I have clients all the time that are like, I was so shocked when you answered my text at 3 a.m, share below. But otherwise, like this video, subscribe, ring the bell so you can be notified of the next 2 videos that are coming up. Otherwise, we will see you next week. Yeah, I'm a goner.
We'll know though, because we won't see anything pop up on the charting system.
I know.
Oh yeah,
Like-
I would be concerned if I didn't hear from you
We
and there
we
was
have to
nothing
have
in the
each other's
chart.
We
back.
check up on each
We
It
do
is
go up to
true.
each other's chart and are like, hey, I saw this thing in your chart. You okay? Yes.
Can't get a cold.
My brother-in-law wasn't feeling very well, so my husband said he could take a nap on our couch. And when I was talking to him, he's like, oh, do you have some like ibuprofen or something? I'm really feeling rough. And I'm like, why are you in my house? You have to go home.
You have to leave.
And he's like, I'm not feeling well. I'm like, yeah, you gotta go.
Exactly. You gotta go.
You gotta go. I can't get a cold. I can't get a sniffle. I can't get a cough. You gotta go. And my husband's like, he doesn't have a ride home. I'm like, I will call his Uber. Because I was at a birth and I called home and I'm like, he's gone, right? And he's like, no, he's sleeping on the couch. I'm not going to wake him up. I'm like, you wake his ass up and you Uber him home.